Joy song last week because nobody knew the tune. So we figured everybody knew this tune, but boy, that's really high. I can hardly get it. Okay, you can sit down now. Who is the pulpit assistant today? Oh, you are. You didn't look ready to get up.
I'm ready, I just didn't. We can do this
Take it
together.
away, Doug.
Let's do it together. We can do that together. It takes two of us. Good morning. Welcome to Valley Community Church. Good morning. Oh, thank you. It's getting close to Christmas, isn't it? If you have your cell phones on, now would be a time to turn them to mute or turn them off. Today we have a wonderful service for you. We have Julie Hickox as our special musician. And we have Nancy is going to be our reader. And of course our message today will be from Maurita, Dr. Wiggins. Nancy, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Maybe we can do this together again.
I forget you like to memorize everything, so you didn't have your thing there. I'm like, hey, where's the person? And let there be light. Thank you. I can see better. Today, I live in God. Now, I completely enjoy constructive living and loving. I celebrate my freedom from yesterday. All past debts are canceled. God's liberating power fills my heart and mind. Today, I appreciate present blessings. I accept the good of God that has been provided. I rejoice in living in this moment. I feel lighthearted as I enter new ways that are filled with promise. I am grateful to know that I move always in God's house. I am pleased to be able to express God's love to others, to better understand my friends and appreciate my acquaintances. I am blessed to be a source of strength to others through God, who is my source of strength. I know that life is an ever-flowing stream into eternity. Its origin is beyond our comprehension, but since it is all God, conscious energy, life must be endless. All there is to know is now, this moment. Life is the working out, the active participation in divine order. I open myself to the free flow of God motion through thoughts, words, and emotions. My actions are directed, for I keep my being in balance with God now. Rejoice in being yourself.
Rejoice in being yourselves. Well, our first hymn is hymn number 24, verse 1 and 2, Away in the Manger. Please stand when you're ready. Hymn number 24, verse 1 and 2.
This morning, I want to share with you something that is so familiar, and yet it is so appropriate, and it's so beautiful. 1 Corinthians, 13th chapter, the 1st through the 8th verses. If I speak with the eloquence of men and of angels, but have no love, I become no more than blaring brass or crashing cymbal. If I have the gift of foretelling the future, and hold in my mind not only all human knowledge, but the very secrets of God, and if I can also have that absolute faith which can move mountains, but have no love, I amount to nothing at all. If I dispose of all that I possess, yes, even if I give my own body to be burned, but have no love, I achieve precisely nothing. This love of which I speak is slow to lose patience. It looks for a way of being constructive. It is not possessive. It is neither anxious to impress, nor does it cherish inflated ideas of its own importance. Love has good manners, does not pursue selfish advantage. It's not touchy. It doesn't keep account of evil or gloat over the wickedness of other people. On the contrary, it shares the joy of those who live by the truth. Love knows no limit to its endurance, no end to its trust, no fading of its hope. It can outlast anything. Love never fails. In this life, we have three lasting qualities: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Of course it is. And we forget it all the time. And if we employed it in our lives, starting with ourselves, if we loved ourselves a little more, patted ourselves on the back, gave ourselves credit for the things that cost us, mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever. If we loved ourselves more, we could love everybody else more. You have to stay with number one and start there. And then the universe is blessed and benefited, for we can bring that same love, that same feeling of goodwill, that willingness to overlook mistakes and things that are inharmonious. We can overlook that and see past it to the child of God right there that is suffering or would not be in a negative place. Love. Remembering it. Keeping it in mind. Starting with ourselves. That's a big, well, not a problem, but a challenge. It's a challenge everybody has. From the so-called states to the ones that are really, really not expressing anything positive. Go with it. Take it with you. Put it in your breast pocket. And act on it. Love yourself and everyone else. Especially the author of love, God. Shall we say our divine science statement of being? You find it in your orders of service. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. is the time in our service when we get still. Goodness knows, life is not still. It's busy. Things to do. People that you have to interact with. But stillness feeds everything else. So let's close our eyes and take a few deep breaths, slow breaths. And begin to feel our bodies and deliberately relax them. The face, the jaw, shoulders, so much tension in our shoulders. Arms and hands, our backs and stomachs. Legs, knees, feet. Still. And let us feel the presence of God. Because God is part of everything. God is within and without. God is here now, filling this place. Part of everything that surrounds us, every material thing that is based on one energy that the universe is also based on. That basic, fundamental presence. That love, that life, that peace. We can never be outside of its presence. There is no outside. But if we remember, if we reach for it, peace is right where we are. Peace and joy, understanding and wisdom. Life, the life principle. And most especially love. Because that is God's most fundamental characteristic. Everything God does is based on love, and that presence is one that you have never been away from, separated from, always part of you is that presence. We forget that. So we don't utilize it, and yet it is so incredibly valuable. So very valuable to be able to simply talk to Him and say, help me get through this. Or, I don't know what decision to make. Show me the way. Or, I'm having a hard time getting along with this person. Help me see the good in them. And oh, Father, help me to count my blessings. Because they're so numerous. They're so abundant. And that I just realize how much good is mine already. Then I'm lighter and freer somehow, and more trusting of you, and feel better about the future, and feel confident that things are going to work out in divine order. Just to know that He is with us every second of every day of our lives. We and everyone else. Let us remember, as we remember our own challenges, that others have challenges as well, and that our cognizance of their being children of God, beloved of Him, guided by Him, if they allow it. If we remember and say, just bless them, Father. Remember them, dear God. We know scientifically that this helps the other person, whether they know someone is praying for them or not. We have our evidence that this is true. It seems so inconsequential to say, thank you for blessing them, Father, or leading them, or healing them. But it is of great consequence. In the 90 seconds of silence that we're going to have in just a moment or two, include the Valley Community Church prayer list. We have a lengthy list of people who want our prayers. Think of the people around you, of friends, acquaintances who need a prayer. And you and God together can bring forth something that embodies love and light and good. Let's do that, starting right now. Unto me, all ye who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, all ye who know others who labor and are heavy laden, and together our thought of love, our knowledge that God is love, will manifest in ways we can't even imagine in someone else's life. this inexhaustible source of help and peace and joy, and most especially love, is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for the whole of our lives. We use it. We use it. We're grateful. And we love God in return. Amen. Shall we say, Our Father? Our Father, who is everywhere, your name is sacred, your kingdom is come, your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. You give us our needful bread from day to day, and you forgive us our offenses, even as we forgive our offenders. And you let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error, because yours are the kingdom, the power, and the song and praise from all ages, throughout all ages, sealed in faith, trust, and truth.
Amen.
This morning I'm going to turn on the candle of hope. Of peace. Of joy. And finally, of love. This morning I'm going to be talking about divine order. Have any of you heard of, I'm sure many have, heard of a man by the name of Paul Harvey? Yeah. Those are of us who have a few years behind us know him very, very well. Because certainly when I was young, Paul Harvey had a very popular radio show. The format of the show was quite consistent. Paul would start telling a story, and it might be about someone you've never heard of, or not very interesting event. And then he'd say something like, "But wait till you hear the rest of the story." And if memory serves, what followed those words were a commercial break. You had to be patient, and it was worth waiting for too. He would always come up with some kind of a surprise ending. Something completely unexpected. He didn't really expect that. This ordinary event seemed to include a person who was perhaps very famous, or there was a totally surprise ending. And people, I know I did, and you probably did, just love those stories. I want to give you an example. Mrs. Paul was the choir director at the West Side Baptist Church. That was in Beatrice, Nebraska. Now her daughter Marilyn was a church pianist, and neither of them had ever been late for this 7:30 choir rehearsal. In fact, they had a habit of arriving 15 minutes early. On Wednesday evening, March the 1st, 1950, at 7 p.m., Mrs. Paul cried out to Marilyn, "It was time to leave for choir practice. Come on, let's get going." There wasn't any answer, though. Mrs. Paul returned to her last-minute preparations, and the minutes ticked by, and at 7:15 she realized that Marilyn must have been taking a nap upstairs after dinner, so she went upstairs to wake her up. And that was the first time that either of them, Mrs. Paul or Marilyn, had ever been late for choir practice. Never happened before. But you know, there were 18 members of the West Side Baptist Church Choir. And each and every one of them was late that very same night for choir practice. 18 people. All 18 had perfectly valid excuses, but not one of them was early or even on time. The Donna Vandergriff was a high school sophomore, and she was having a lot of trouble with her geometry homework, so she lingered over to, trying to figure it out. Now, she was one who always came early, always. But this night, she was late. Royina Estes and her sister Sadie were ready to leave. They were going to be on time. The car wouldn't start. So they called up LaDonna Vandergriff and asked her to pick them up. Now, she was still struggling with this geometry problem, so they had to wait for her. Usually, Mrs. Schuster was at least 10 minutes early for choir practice, but she was detained at her mother's house. Herb Kipp was at home, but he absolutely had to finish writing this important letter. Excuses, excuses, excuses. One man had been invited out for dinner, and he just ran a little late. A young woman had to hear the end of this radio program, and it was one of those cliffhangers, and she just hung in there waiting for it to finish. Now, even the pastor and his wife, they were always on time. They were running behind because the pastor's watch had somehow lost 5 minutes. Now, the remaining choir members had equally valid excuses for being late. And never before had everyone been late for the 7:30 Wednesday evening choir practice. No one was there at 7:30. I wonder how you would figure out the odds of 18 people being late that one evening. But it was 7:30 p.m. when a natural gas line leaked into the basement of the West Side Baptist Church, was ignited by the furnace, and the church blew up. It was absolutely demolished. The furnace of the West Side Baptist Church was directly below the choir loft. An empty choir loft. That one evening. That's a neat story, I think. One of Paul Harvey's. And a true story, absolutely. You know, one of my favorite affirmations, when I've said times without number to myself, is divine order is already established. When we look at our own lives, or when we listen to the evening news, when we read the paper, my goodness, order is the very last thing we see in it. We see plenty of chaos all over the world, certainly around our country. And we're puzzled. Sometimes we're angered by the whys of life. Why did this happen? Why did such and such negative thing happen? I mean, we don't ask why questions quite as much when wonderful things happen, beautiful things unfold for us or other people. But what I keep trying to remember is that we have the best news system that we ever have had. And we need to try to remember that we are only aware of a tiny portion of the multitudinal dimensions in which we live. We live lives at home and lives at work and lives playing games and lives at the gym and lives, you name it. But for reasons there are always reasons why things happen, for everything. And one day we will know what that is. They're invisible to us now, but they won't remain invisible. One day we will know why some of the things happen, but not right now, not yet. That's why it's so important to be able to believe in and trust in a God who does know it all, an omnipresent, omniscient God. You know, there is a tremendous physical benefit, mental and emotional benefit, just an all-around relief. If we can believe in a God who is not only perfect goodness, but that his goodness, his divine order, is manifesting everywhere all the time. What? Not from what I hear, not from what I see. No, we can't usually see it at all. But we certainly can see that divine order reigned on Wednesday night, March the 1st, 1950, at 7:30 p.m. at the West Side Baptist Church in Beatrice, Nebraska. Can't we? Absolutely. Apparently all these people had roles to play, things to do, experiences to have, and lessons to learn. God needed them. And they needed to be right where they were, late, that particular night. If we believe that life is eternal, and in this church, of course, we do, then it isn't quite so hard when people we know or love do die. As 18 almost did that night, March 1st, 1950. When somebody dies, what we try to do is reason out that they carried the roles that they needed to play. They had done the things they needed to do or say. They had learned the lessons that they were capable of learning at this time. And so God called them home to him so they could continue that eternal, wonderful process of unfoldment in spirit that he created. Doesn't believing that we always have and we always will participate fully in that unlimited divine life, doesn't it take away at least some of what could be an enormous stress and fear, because everybody's going to move out of these bodies one of these days. It might be, inconvenient, painful, shocking, even life-changing to lose somebody we love. But we have to look through spiritual eyes and realize that it really is okay. Everything is in divine order. Life is eternal. That perfect order is established now and forever. So, what else does that event at the West Side Baptist Church tell us? What it says really is that you and me, the choir of the West Side Baptist Church, and everybody else is important. We're important right where we are. Each one of us is a beautiful shining thread in the tapestry of life. You are absolutely indispensable. Know that. Let it resonate to the very depths of your being. You are indispensable. Every Sunday morning we say, I am the individualized expression of God, and I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We remind ourselves that individualized means undivided. We are undivided from God. We are undivided from his love. We are undivided from his order. We are and always be a part of God. And we have and always will be part of His divine eternal life. For ours is that eternal life. We participate fully, 150%, in His life, His love. It's really easy for all of us to fall into the trap of defining ourselves by our work, or the amount of money we do have or don't have, or by what might be our place in society, or who we know, or our skills, or how other people or our upbringing has defined us. Sometimes defined us wonderfully, and sometimes defined us abysmally. We have to keep from defining ourselves from what kind of education we had or did not have. Because if we define ourselves that way, we are limiting ourselves by equating ourselves with the least part of us, the outer part, the physical, the human part. The greatest part of us is invisible. It is eternal. It cannot be defined any more than God can be defined, except to say that He is and we also are love itself. We are the principle of life. We embody that. We are truth and wisdom and power and understanding and knowledge and good and so much more, and we were created that way from the beginning of time. That's how we have to define ourselves. And that's the way we have to define everybody else. 1 John says, "Beloved, now are we the sons of God." And not at some future time, not when we are good, don't make any mistakes, right now and forever. God was speaking the truth of every one of us. Beloved, now, right now, we are the children of God. Amazing events happen, yeah. Certainly happened in Beatrice, Nebraska in 1950. 18 people who could have, should have died, didn't. If we allow it. Events like this can convince us that there is an underlying plan and reason for the occurrences in life. For being late one night. Divine order is the basis of everything, whether we can see it, and we usually can, whether we can see it or not. Stories, like the one I just told you, help us to learn to trust the presence of love, despite any temporary appearance to the opposite. It will work out. It will work out because behind and within, around all of us is a presence and a power of love, of peace, of wisdom that cannot stop, will not ever cease. God is love. And that love will never stop because we are His children, made in His image. I know this helps us accept the truth that perhaps we are all important. We are golden threads in that tapestry of life. And we're expressing on this plane of existence, or if we're expressing on another plane of existence, because life does go on. Love goes on. We always have been, and we always will be the beloved, the incomparably loved children of God. Shall we go with Him for just a moment? just say thank you. Thank you. Sometimes I don't love me, but you always do. Sometimes I don't love that irritating person, that one that adds problems to my life instead of solutions, but you do. Thank you, Father. You see it all, you know it all, and you are everywhere present to help it all. What we have to do is turn to you, that's it. Just a simple acknowledgement that you are with us. You are bringing about that solution, that right action. And all truly is well. We can't see it always, but it's always the truth of life. And for this, we give deepest thanks. Amen.
Now's the time in our service for the blessings of the gifts. If you'll follow with me in our orders of service. Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitations, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely of the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent, blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you.
Please bless yourselves and bless the other person as you take one or more of these prayer requests and think of them through this week.
Good morning. Okay, I don't even know where to start this morning, but anyhow, Christmas Eve service will be Tuesday evening at 4 p.m. We voted last year to have it early so people could go do things with their family that needed to do that. So the service will be at 4, and then the ones that want to, we're going to Ruby Tuesdays at 5:30 for a dinner. If you haven't told me you're going, please let me know so I can make sure we have enough reservations for everybody. So that will be at 5:30, and so if you don't have any other plans, feel free to join us because we would love to have you join us. It's been a tradition for us to do that the last 2 or 3 years because there are some people that don't have any place to go on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, so we try to do as much as we can so people can get together. Let's see, today y'all had to get kind of out of your box today and sit closer together because half the chairs are gone. So just wanted you to know that we have sold these chairs. Somebody picked up 30 of them the other day, and they're going to pick up the other 30 here soon. Our new chairs will be here sometime after the first of the year. So anyhow, hopefully, we hope it's going to work out where that the chairs will be here and these will be gone all at the same time. So we'll have to. If not, then y'all will have to go next door and pull out a chair and sit down. But anyhow, it's all in divine order. So there you go. So beginning to think we were going to sell the chairs, and then last week it all happened. So there you go. The flowers for today are for Billy's birthday. He's not here again today. So anyhow, we'll get Mark or Laura to see that he gets them. Next Sunday after church will be a congregational meeting. We have to have one twice a year for that again. We did food for the food bank at MCC Church. They were overwhelmed with what we did and very grateful. Many of us went to the Kathy Mo's concert last night. The members at that church couldn't thank us enough for all that we did. And after the church, I was able to go, the lady took me through their little pantry that they have. And it's not all that big, but it serves a purpose. And it was very well stocked for what we have done and other people have done. So, and she told me how it operated. So hopefully during the year we can maybe help them again. They were very, very grateful for that. So, and I appreciate everything that everybody did with that. We filled up my car and Melanie's car, took it down there last Sunday. So, again, thank you for that. Also, as you know, we this year we collected money for poinsettias, the small poinsettias for Pam's workplace. So, you want to say how the people were with that?
Oh, I certainly do. They filled up a huge cart. I mean, all 70 poinsettias. They didn't even all fit on the cart. And I pushed it all around the facility and gave each resident one of the cards that we made in our craft class. that said, choose love this season. Some of them said choose joy this season. So we had a little bit of a hard time trying to figure out, do we just say happy holidays like everyone else? But so everybody got a beautiful living flower that said choose joy this season or choose love this season. And you just have to see their faces. Some of these people don't have families, some did, but they were just overjoyed. It really brightened up their room. So thank you from all 70 people.
I did not hear the name of the place where you...
Spring Tree. It's a
Okay.
health and rehab.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
So we like to do stuff like that, and especially for people that we know, like Pam works there, so that's great. I'll be taking the stuffed animals to the Ram House this afternoon, or tomorrow afternoon one, and they're always very grateful for that because they always have children show up Christmas Eve. They say it's one of the really bad days for them. So anyhow, I'll be taking those down this afternoon, hopefully. Also, Nancy, you want to say anything about your class? I know there's one person here that didn't know you was going to have a class, so you want to say something about that. So.
Okay, so starting the 13th of January, which is a Monday, for 10 consecutive Mondays at 6:30, I'll be teaching the Fundamentals of Divine Science class. So if you're interested in learning basic metaphysics, that's specific to divine science, it's about between an hour and a half and 2 hours on Mondays, and it's really fun and interesting. We have lots of conversation, lots of sharing, so it's really a great class. So if you'd like to come, there's a sign-up sheet in there, and probably next week I'll be giving out the written lessons so that you can be ready on the 13th.
Okay. Also, we have a sign-up sheet for the flower calendar for next year, and also for the birthday cake Sundays. So if anybody wants to sign up for those, that's been a really big help. Somebody taking charge for a birthday cake every month instead of one or two people baking them. So we appreciate all that everybody does. As I've told you many, many times, this church, even with the chairs, we had people. It doesn't matter if you donated all the money for a chair or if you donated your time. Everybody was responsible for getting these chairs bought and paid for. And we paid for it without taking any money out of the fund that Joe Kinsey gave us. We raised the biggest part of this money. We had a couple other big donations, but we raised almost $4,000 ourselves in a very short amount of time. So thank you all. I just can't thank you enough because every time we ask for something, you show up and you do it. So I'm very, very grateful. From myself and from the rest of the board, we wish you a Merry Christmas. And so everybody get up and wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and then come, we'll sing, and we're going to... Did you have anything, Maurita? Yes. Okay, sorry. Before we say Merry Christmas.
Please, go past the box, Santa's mailbox in the foyer, in the, annex, and see if there isn't a card there for you. Please,
Yeah,
please check that out, okay? Thank you.
Now, there will be no Wednesday night class, there will be nothing on Thursday night, so this week is pretty, just celebrate your Christmas and do whatever you need to do this week, and we'll get back to normal hopefully for next week. Also, Christmas, every year I ask the board, what are we going to give for Christmas? Pins. Everybody loves the pins, so every year I have to find a different pin. So if you didn't get your pin this morning, let me know, I'll give you your Christmas pin. So
Will they light up?
not this year, they don't light up this year. We had to get red ones because Laurel didn't get her red chairs, so we had to get red pins for her.
Thanks, Laurel.
All right, everybody, wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
She's ready for Christmas. So cute with the
I'm so glad to see you.
Merry Christmas, Carrie. Well, I'll get y'all what you want to say. Here, take this one. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, Bob.
Yeah, good.
See y'all today.
Hey, ma'am.
Merry Christmas.
You work your butt off around here. You haven't been here, but you come
I'm coming.
I have seen recently another
We're gonna sing, y'all need it?
Our closing hymn is going to be hymn number 34. Your first Noel. Verse 1, 2, and 4. Amy, you got that? Hymn number 34. 1, 2, and 4.
Good work. What about that we were going to dinner? Yeah, we're going to lunch.
I got you right here.
That we were going to lunch. That was a message that I got. Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody was waiting on me. You were waiting on my dog.
Oh, blame it on JoJo.
Okay,
We get still and remember that divine order is already established. Things are doing as they should, and that is not the way we see it always. But God's purpose, God's plan is underneath it all. We give thanks that that means that good is coming to us. We know in advance that all is well. We needn't worry. We only do our best. And things work out as they should in a way that blesses and benefits, as a demonstration of God's love for each one of us. So it is today, and so it is every day of our existence. Amen.
Amen.